Thank you, madam, and I would like to thank AIOS for this opportunity. I'll be talking about trabeculectomy with Ologen. I do not have any financial disclosure. As in when any trabeculectomy, it starts off with the conjunctival peritomy and hemostasis. This is every step is important. I also make a triangular scleral flap of around 4 by 4 mm in dimensions, and the sclerostomy is completed. After that, a peripheral iridectomy is done, as in any surgery that we do. The difference starts off when we start closing the scleral flap. The apical suture, I take an interrupted apical suture. We can also take a releasable one here, but the suture has to be loose. It should not be very tight, as we normally place in a MMC trap. A loose apical suture would help in the dynamic scleral flap movement in the early post-operative period, which is one of the mechanism of action of Ologen implant. I also take, for an added safety, I take a releasable suture at one side of the scleral flap. This is optional. The company does not, they say that one apical suture would be enough, but to prevent those early post-operative hypotony and flat ACs, if the patient rubs his or her eyes or sleeps on that side, I take this releasable suture, which I remove quite early in the post-operative period at around third or fourth day if there is no hypotony. And this is just for an added. This is the Ologen implant. It goes in very easily in the subconjunctival space. This is a 6 mm diameter, 2 mm thickness Ologen implant. And we can easily close the conjunctiva over the Ologen implant without any extra efforts. It does not require any extra skill set. If you are okay in doing trabeculectomy, you can easily start putting Ologen implants also. A conjunctival closure, a watertight conjunctival closure is paramount, like in any trabeculectomy surgery. So what happens in the early postoperative period is, like I told, a dynamic scleral flap movement that happens. When the IOP starts increasing, more amount of aqueous starts flowing in the bleb area, as you can see in this animation. The aqueous gets absorbed by the porous Ologen, and that presses on the scleral flap and decreases, limits the amount of aqueous flowing outside, and vice versa when the IOP starts decreasing again. In the long run, what happens is the Ologen acts as a scaffold for the fibroblast to form a very loose kind of a connective tissue matrix in the bleb area, along with microcystic spaces for the aqueous to drain. So what we'll end up is a functional bleb with a normal looking conjunctival structure. I'm sorry. So this is what we'll end up with. This is the early post-operative and 2 years follow-up photograph. As you can see, the normal vasculature is present on the conjunctival surface over the bleb area. And it has microcystic spaces inside it, as the ASOCD photographs show here, which tells us that it's a functioning bleb. So my practice pattern is I usually do it in patients who have a very high risk of hypotony or related complications like old age, high myopia, and if they have had an history of hypotony in the other eye. The contraindications, I usually avoid it in doing in neovascular glaucomas or secondary uveitic glaucomas in patients with advanced glaucomas. In Muslim patients, I tell them about the porcine origin of this implant, and if they're okay with it, then only I go ahead with it. Cost is a limiting factor that has to be considered. Thank you for your kind attention.
That was a
Thank you, Amit. Over to you, Vineet sir.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. That was a wonderful surgery. So you have started with the indications as to which patients you would actually prefer an Ologen as compared to a trap. So that's the important thing to decide. So do you anchor the Ologen or do you just leave it as
No,
it?
so I leave it in the subconjunctival space. I do not anchor it. There's no sutures involved, and it remains in position. With the gravity, it gravitates down up to the scleral flap area. Even if we put it a little posterior to the scleral flap while closing it, with gravity in the early postoperative period itself, it comes down to the scleral flap area. And I've never encountered any exposure of the Ologen in the 200 odd cases that I've implanted this.
I think putting your additional releasable suture, which you do at the nasal in this case, which you did in the nasal part, actually would help control
Yes,
it.
sir. When I started, I for a MMC trap, I put 3 scleral flap sutures. So just putting one suture, a loose apical suture, was very difficult for me. And for good night's sleep, I take that additional releasable suture, and I remove it quite early if the pressures are not very low in the early postoperative period. I remove it at probably the third or the fourth post-operative day itself for the actual mechanism to begin.
If Dr. Bala is there, Dr. Bala, sir?
Can I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, do we actually take a religious consent from? Do we actually have something written in the consent that it is of porcine origin and is being allowed to use, because they have strong religious implications if we don't take such consent?
It's a very good idea to take a written consent. Most of the patients, I explain them, and probably 50% of the patients, they go against it, and some of them, they say we don't mind, and it's not that we are consuming porcine origin thing. It's of medical indication, and they understand that. So in that case, yeah, but your point is very correct, that we should mention it in our consent that it's of porcine origin.
So do we have something there in SN, sir? Like, do we have this mention in the consent in the SN about this?
We don't use so much of Ologen. We mainly just trap with Mito.
Because
I'm using Ologen myself.
Okay. Because I did add one line into my consent about this, because I think it can be touchy sometimes. So I just thought I'll point it out.
Has anyone else used Aditya, Shika?
I do not use Ologen so much, so would not know. But what Dr. Ankur has said is maybe we can have that, because later on patients should not say that we didn't know, because that is an issue many times.
Ologen that you used at Aditya.
Just one more question, sir.
Yeah.
Any experience of Ologen in glaucoma combined surgeries?
You mean to say, sir, phacotrabeculectomy?
Yeah. Because mostly we use
most of the surgeries that I end up doing are phacotrabeculectomies only. And I've done approximately 200 Ologen implants, and most of them, I think more than 80% of the cases would be a phacotrabeculectomy only. The results are quite encouraging. Around 50% of IOP reduction I've noted on an average from the baseline. And the IOP, the number of AGMs change also is around 5-fold, from 1.9 plus or minus 0.6 AGMs at baseline to around 0.6 plus or minus 0.4, something like that is what my statistics say. So the results are quite encouraging.
Big advocate of Ologen. He used to use a lot of Ologen, Dr. Sridhar Rao.
So just for saying, can Ologen be considered a substitute for mitomycin C?
In many of the cases, I do consider it as a viable substitute, especially in patients where I know that they are at a high risk of developing hypotony related, because I'm very afraid of hypotony. I'm more afraid of hypotony as compared to postoperatively. So in those cases, especially in cases where I have had an hypotony related complication, or in patients with very high myopia, very old age patients where nothing is working and you end up doing a surgery. And in those cases, definitely it's a very good substitute in my hands, is what I can say.
Amit, I have got a question. What do you prefer? Like, what message would you like to give your juniors, whether they should perform when we have been talking about the phacotrabeculectomy along with the Ologen? So would you like to give a message that whether they should prefer a single site phacotrabeculectomy while using the Ologen, or it should be a two-site thing?
I do both. When the cataract surgeon is a different surgeon, they usually prefer doing a temporal phaco, and then I do my superior trab. When I do it alone, I do it as a single site phacotrabeculectomy. The advantages I would say is that I'm not opening the eye in two different places. Theoretical possibility of infection would be more if we are opening it up in two different places, and also shifting from one place to the another and then coming back again would increase my surgical time also. And I don't like placing that side port entry close to my trab. If I inadvertently rupture the conjunctiva there, I'm very afraid of doing that. So I would prefer doing a superior single site phacotrabeculectomy with or without Ologen.
So Vineet sir, can we switch on to the other presentation as now the time is up?
Yeah, just one point, Amit. When you do a two-site, do you suture your cataract wound?
No, sir. We hydrate it well.
Shallow AC, your cataract wound would also gape.
Right, sir. What I do is I keep the viscoelastic in the AC till I suture my scleral flap, and before suturing my conjunctiva, starting of suturing of conjunctiva, I do a irrigation and aspiration to remove the viscoelastic substance, and then I close my conjunctiva. That ensures the wound is not giving way.
Okay, so that's one point. If you're doing a two-site surgery, it's always good to even secure your cataract wound, because in case you end up with a shallow anterior chamber, your cataract wound would also gape. And since you with a sutureless, and you have either a uniplanar or a two-planar, it can leak from there and then cause an infection.
Right.
It's okay, but it's always better to be on the safer side. So
Right.
yeah, Shweta, you can go on to the next one.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Amit, for a wonderful